Welcome to my gathering basket. My name is Danelle, and this is my podcast about my making adventures. Thank you so much for all of you that have watched, subscribed, liked, and especially commented. I have had so much fun reading your comments and responding. I try to get to all of them and respond back. So many of you have pointed out things that I could do to make this better, maybe information that I left out, and that's been super helpful for me knowing going forward what kinds of information you would like to have. So please continue to message me or leave a comment if there's anything that you would like clarified. My whole point to this podcast is just to share my adventures, the good, the not so good, and hopefully inspire some of you to try new things, to kind of stretch out and, okay, go down other bunny trails. Because sometimes that's where the adventure lies. So, as I said last time, the last 2 weeks have been fair weeks. It's been a blast. I feel like it's just been a whirlwind. I was able to go to the state fair. Our Missouri State Fair was held a couple weeks ago. I went on the kind of in between the first and second week. So a bunch of us from, actually 3 of us, not a bunch, but 3 of us from our guild had entered things in the hand arts divisions. And those 2 other ladies also have a long history of entering their sheep in the sheep show. So this year they haven't done that for a while, and they decided that they really wanted to go up and see the sheep show again. So I happened to have that day off work and I was able to join them. So we went up to, it's about a 3-hour drive to Sedalia, Missouri, and we spent about 6 hours walking around the fairgrounds and then drove 3 hours back home. So it was kind of a quick time at the fair, but kind of a long day for us. Weather was gorgeous. You couldn't have asked for better. It was slightly misty, which, as you know from other episodes, we have very much needed the rain, so it was no problem walking around and getting a little bit damp at times. But the weather, the temperatures were great. It was 75, 80 degrees. Like I said, you couldn't have asked for a better day to walk around the fair. So we went up, saw the, I kind of dropped them off, looked a little bit at the sheep show, and then I was able to look around at the gardening exhibits, the agricultural exhibits, visit a few booths that I was very interested. The Missouri State Conservation Department, I was able to get some information I'll show you later on butterflies, and look at some alternative energy displays, and let's see, look at the African violet show, some wildflower shows. My biggest disappointment, I told you I was hoping I was going to be able to see the poultry show. And like I said, I was there kind of at the middle of the fair, and the poultry show had ended the day before. They were cleaning out the barn, getting ready for the rabbit competition to start the next day. That's always a decision for me because I have raised rabbits and I also raise several kinds of poultry. So, at least I have in the past. Right now I just have chickens, and I was really kind of curious to see some of the breeds that I have tried and just see what a show specimen animal looked like. So I was a little disappointed that I couldn't see that, but there was so much else to see. The exhibits in the hand arts and the FFA, Future Farmers of America, the 4-H exhibits were so good this year. It'd been a number of years since I had been up to Sedalia for State Fair, so I was very pleased to see how much was there. And then our guild, the 3 of us that entered from our guild, did really well. We all took home ribbons, which was fun. In fact, I was kind of on my own. The others were at the sheep show, and I walked into the Home Arts building, and our state fair, I don't know about other states, but our state fair, the buildings are pretty historic. Most of them were built early 1900s, 19 teens, 1920s, some in the 30s. There's 5 or 6 main buildings, and the history buff in me had fun just walking around and reading the signs about the history of the buildings. Really neat buildings, definitely old. Not the best for taking pictures in, so I don't have a great photographic journal of my time at the fair, but I'll try at the end to include a few and some snaps of videos that I had taken while I was there. So all of the exhibits in the home arts were in old bakery cases, so everything was behind glass. Again, not the best for taking pictures. But when I walked in the building, I saw a small group of circular sock machines and set up, and I went over and looked. I used to have a circular sock machine and had a lot of fun with it. Ended up selling it to a friend because I just wasn't using it as much as I thought I would. But I went over, and sure enough, a couple of the ladies were ones that I had been to sock knitting retreats with. So we had fun visiting, catching up, comparing what we had learned to do since I had seen them last and what they were doing with their CSMs or circular sock machines. One of these days I'll probably have one again, but that'll just have to come later. So sure, one of the ladies, Jan, said, "So, did you see that your friend Darlene had won some ribbons?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard that." She said, let's go look." And I said, "Well, actually, I'm kind of hoping to see my own exhibits." And she said, "Oh, let's go see. And she just pulled me along, and it was so much fun. We got to the first case of the hand spinning, and I think she spotted my stuff before I did. And sure enough, the first exhibit was my blue merino silk from the 100th sheep that I had done, and I almost missed it because the color of the ribbon matched the yarn. It just blended almost right in. And sure enough, in my category, I had gotten a blue ribbon. I was floored. And she said, let's see what else. And she pulled me along the cases and showed me Darlene's, which was kind of right down from mine. And then we went around. She said, "Okay, what other things are you in?" And so we looked and looked for my stuff and for Darlene's and Judy's. And sure enough, we had gotten ribbons on everything. And all 5 of mine were blue. I was floored and probably wouldn't have believed it, except my friend Jan was pointing at, she was having as much fun and stopping people and saying, "Hey, look what my friend won." And so that made it so much fun. And then later in the day, I met up with my friends, and we kind of took a quick spin around the Home Arts building and looking for other people that we knew. Fiber Arts community is not real huge, and so most of the people, not all, but a lot of them that were in the competition, we at least knew the name from other fiber shows, events in our region. So that was really fun, be able to see what we had won and what friends had won. And then of course, looking and taking notes and going, "Oh, I want to try that, I want to try that. Next year I'm going to enter this, and I think I'm going to enter that." I took up a sweater and a pair of colorwork mittens, and I'm not sure how or why, but they both won blues as well. So I had I was stunned. I was floored. It was a lot of fun. I don't have any of those entries right now that I can show you. It would be fun to. But we have friends that live closer to the fair that are going to be picked up all that stuff when the fair ended, and they're keeping it at their house until another mutual friend is up in that area over Labor Day, and then I'll get it back eventually. So kind of have to wait for my ribbons, but I was just amazed. To me, fair is way more about education, showing people what can be done. Again, like this podcast, just trying to inspire people that, hey, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. And just kind of give ideas. There were certainly things, looking through the quilt show, things that I came back and going, I'm gonna try that technique now. So it was a great day. Lots of things to see. I had a blast. I hope I can go back next year. but definitely already the wheels are spinning. I'm looking at my stash and thinking, okay, which fibers can I spin for categories for the fair next year? So all things considered, it was a wonderful time. So came home from that, all ready to go for our local fair, and it's a city fair basically, but it essentially is for our county, which is actually, it's kind of funny, we're one of the last county fairs in the state. We're actually after the state fair. A lot of fairs will run as kind of a qualifier, so you win at the small fair and then you go on to state. State fair doesn't require that, but that's what a lot of people do. So came back home and started looking through my things, and I thought, oh, this is so much fun. I'm gonna enter. And it's been 10 years since I entered anything into our local fair. And we have a pretty good little representation of handwork. So, and I have in the past entered canned goods and garden vegetables, flowers, quilts. This year I thought I'm just gonna enter some of the handcrafts. So I put together about, oh, I don't know, 10 different things and was getting all those ready. And then I got a call from the superintendent of the handcrafts or hand arts category. And she said, hey, Danelle, are you working this Thursday? And I flipped through my calendar. No, actually I'm not. And I'm really excited because this year I'm going to be able to enter some things for you. And she said, well, I've asked in the past and you've always been working that day, but I'd really like to have you as a judge for the hand arts. Okay. Well, does that mean I can still enter? Because this year was the 75th anniversary of our fair. And so they'd made a big deal about wanting more entries this year, and the ribbons were going to be special and marked as the 75th anniversary and all this kind of stuff. And so she said, oh, yep, that's fine. Just bring your stuff and just let me know what you've entered in, and we won't let you judge those categories. Okay. So I was good and kind of pared down my list of things that I wanted to enter to just 2 different categories that I was pretty sure. One, I knew I would know the other entrants, and so I did not want to judge their work. And the other one typically does not have much entering into it. So I took in a sweater, and my favorite one was one that I had taken up to State Fair, and I didn't have that back. So, and in the past, the sweater category hasn't had a lot of entries. So I kind of dug through this last year's and spruced up one of my sweaters and took this one in. This is the Light Ease by Alicia Plummer. And it is just a very simple kind of a sweatshirt sort of style. Drawstring, collar there. This one is color blocked. And I've got all of my notes on my Ravelry page, I believe, on this one. But it is a wonderful, all of Alicia's patterns are very good, very easy to follow. Lived in this thing this spring. I guess I finished it late winter, and oh my goodness, I got so much use out of this. So that is the Light Ease by Alicia Plummer. It is on Ravelry. And definitely, I will be making more of these, I am sure. And then I took in new for me this year, because I just started rug weaving in January, basically. And so this year I thought, I'm going to take in some of my rugs. So I took in these 2 rugs. This one is made out of sheets and remnants of some different flannels that I had acquired in my stash. It's a hemmed rug. One of these days I'll try to give you kind of an overview, show you my loom. It is a 1951 Newcomb Studio loom. I am having so much fun. Weaving is one of the very first crafts I ever tried. I had a friend when I was really little that his mom was a weaver. So when she would babysit me and my brother, and if we were really good, she'd let me sit on her lap and throw the shuttle. So I was like 3 or 4. I was helping her weave rugs, and ever since then I said right then when I was like 4, I'm gonna do this someday. So I was really excited when I got a chance to get this floor loom to make rugs. So this one is kind of a traditional, just thrifted sheets and fabric, and really liked how it turned out. Really nice rug. And then this one is made out of upholstery trimmings. There are a lot of mills that make fabric that will sell their loom trimmings. Basically, they call them selvages. So it's waste for them on their end, and then they sell it to weavers to make rugs. And this one, just really soft, kind of furry, almost a chenille feel to it. So I entered those two, and I didn't know, like I said, I have not ever really paid attention to there being woven rugs at our fair before. So I wasn't sure what to expect. And all summer long, when I've been selling my rugs at farmers market, I've had people say, "Oh, do you know so-and-so? They weave rugs also." And well, I did know this lady, and I had no clue she was a weaver. So I guess what I found out was that she had just recently, last year or so, retired and had gotten back to weaving. And so she entered several rugs. So she's been weaving this was her grandmother's rug loom that her mom then used and she got. And so there's a definite weaving history for her. And then I entered my 2 rugs. She had 3 in the contest, and I ended up taking first and second. And that was fun. And it's been also kind of fun. After the fair, when I was walking around after the judging and seeing, just because local fair, you know everybody, and you're walking around and comparing notes and talking about what did you enter, what did I, looking at people's exhibits. And the number of people that said, "Oh, I didn't know you were weaving, and do you take custom orders? I have jeans that kids have outgrown. Would you be willing to make a rug for me?" Or there's a lot of people making t-shirt quilts as memory quilts for kids when they graduate. And I had several people asking me if I could weave rugs for them out of those. So it could be interesting to see where that leads. But I was able to get first and second on those. And then my sweater I got third on. So, but even that was fun, because the girl that got first was a really good friend of mine, and it was her second sweater. She has only been knitting since January, and the sweater that she knit and entered is a knockout. It's beautiful. So I was very pleased that she got blue, which she totally deserved, but she had some good competition in that and was able to take the blue, and I'm so excited. And again, we've been, with my little knitting group, we've been texting back and forth. Okay, so you won this year. What are we doing next year? Who's going to have the winning sweater next year? Have you got it on the needles yet? Only 360. I sent out a text and said, only 362 days to get your fair entries ready for next year. You better get on the ball. So fair season has been great this year. It's just been a lot of fun. So that's fair. Spinning kind of leapfrogged. Oh my goodness. When you come back with 3 blue ribbons on your hand spinning and all these ideas of what you want to enter next year, all of a sudden, like, the stash comes flying out and you start pulling, and I want to spin everything, and I want to spin it all now. So I'm still working faithfully on my Angora alpaca that I told you last time was going to be a very long-term project, and it is. I'm getting close to, I've got at least half of the first bag spun, but it's gonna be going for a while, so I won't show you that. I did have a chance, yesterday, to go to another local farmers market that was having an artisan day, and they asked our Fiber Guild if we would be willing to come and set up a tent and just do demonstrations of spinning, weaving, knitting. There's a lady in our guild that is from that town, and she actually sells rugs. She's the one that sold me my loom and taught me how to weave, and she always has a weaving booth there. So we sat next to her, and I think 3 or 4 of us had spinning wheels going, and several people were knitting. We were able to give away a lot of information about our fiber show that's coming up in a few weeks, and talk to a lot of people that would like to try some of these skills. We also had a lady that does a lot of felting, and she had a little stand set up for kids to come by and actually felt soap balls. Which is really fun. You take a bar of soap and wrap it in wool, and then just add some water and keep rubbing it until you have I should have brought one, until the wool felts around the bar of soap. So when you use it, it's almost like you have a bar of soap with the washcloth on it. And as you use it and the soap dissolves and is used up, then the wool just kind of keeps felting down and getting tighter. So it's a fun project, a cute gift to make, and kids just love it. So we were able to get some kids hands-on working with wool, which is always a plus. And it's just so much fun to see their eyes light up and, oh, it's soft, or oh, it's squishy, and then you can ooh and ah over it too without feeling silly. So that was yesterday, and I took my little Ashford Joy, my travel wheel, and I just grabbed a couple quick projects that handfuls of yarn that I wanted to get used. I had some samples that came with my e-spinner that I got this spring, and I hadn't spun those up, and they were just little balls. So I took those and thought, I'm gonna spin them up. They happened to be in pumpkin colors, which is coming into season. So I just did a real quick, and I don't spin thick very often. So this was a little bit of a stretch for me. But I spun a little tiny ball, I don't know, it's probably an ounce and a half maybe, of this orange. And then I had a bright green. And then there's another kind of a real pale orange that I've got done, and I'm getting ready to ply up. I've got to do that, probably do that tonight. And then these are going to be ready for knitting up some pumpkins. Several years ago at a knitting class that I took, a friend of mine, Linda, had brought, it was just a few of us in the class, and she brought I believe it was like late September, early October when we had it, and she brought pumpkins that she had spun the yarn and knitted for us, and gave each one of us one of these. And I just thought they were so cute, and it's been kind of one of my little, in my office I have it sitting on my desk for the fall, and every year when I put it out I think I'm gonna make some more of those and make like a little basket or display of pumpkins. So this year I thought, I've got the perfect yarn for this, or fiber that I can spin up, and I'm gonna make some pumpkins. So it was really fun because yesterday as I was spinning it, the kids were coming along and they were looking at it, and I said, okay kids, I've got orange and yellow and green. What do you think I could make out of this? And several of the kids said, it's a pumpkin on a spinning wheel. So that was fun. The pattern that I believe Linda used, if it's not, I thought I had it favorited on Ravelry and somehow I can't find it. So if this isn't the pattern, it's very close. Is just called Knitted Pumpkin, and it's by Katrina McNerney. So I've got to get that washed and just set the twist set and all, and then hopefully in the next week or two I can start knitting some pumpkins. So excited to finally, I've been thinking about this for several years, so I'm excited to finally get a chance to actually make some. And then I'll probably be going through my stash to see if I can find any more other pumpkin-y colors, or I may have to dye some to try to make some more, because I just think they're so cute, and you can make them in any gauge, any size. So I'm looking forward to playing with that. So that's, and then I told you last time that I had knit all of one color, and I was knitting a lot of spinning a lot of natural colors, and I just needed some color. So I went through my stash, and I haven't started yet, but I picked out this one, which is a gradient by Fiber Optics. It is her Hot Pink to Sunshine, and this is a merino silk blend. She does a beautiful job, and I was gifted by a very generous friend a couple braids that she was destashing, and I believe part of why this hasn't started yet, and it's blowing out just a little bit, but you can see it goes from yellow all the way up to this almost magenta. So I have not spun any of Kimber's wool yet, but I've heard amazing things about it, and I'm excited to try it. I think what I'm going to do, and I haven't entirely decided, and that's why it's not started yet, but I'm hoping tonight to get this split up and on the wheel. I think I'm going to spin it and maintain the gradient. I'm definitely gonna divide it in half. So I'm gonna pull this as close as I can to half. I'll divide this. What I haven't decided, because I think I'm gonna use it for mittens. That's the plan right now. Do some color work mittens again, because y'all, I entered some in the fair and won, so I've got to try another pair for this year, right? So I'm going to divide it in half so that I have 2 skeins in the end. What I haven't decided is if I want to do this to go again in half and do a 2-ply, a traditional real 2-ply, or if I want to do it in a single pass through my wheel and then do a chain ply. So I just haven't 100% made up my mind, haven't had time to sit down at my wheel anyway to work on this. So that's what I'm thinking here. And like I said, I'm hoping to get that started tonight or tomorrow. So I'll have an answer. You'll know my decision by next episode. But that's going to be my colorful spin. And then I have my natural colored alpaca angora. So that'll be a nice blend of color and natural. And I think that's about where I am with spinning. Knitting. Okay, first thing is what I'm wearing. This is a sweater I did probably just over a year ago, year and a half ago. It's called the Sunniva. I'm probably butchering that. I'm sorry if I am, but I will put the name down below. And I did this one out of Open Skies yarn. Jeanette is not dyeing currently. I'm hoping that maybe someday she'll pull her colors back out because she did a wonderful job. This is a merino silk blend in fingering weight that she did. This is a very different sweater. It is by Kristen Hanley Cardozo, and it's actually an older pattern. There were Ravelry projects back to like 2010. So it's an older pattern, but nothing wrong with that. I pulled out a little bit of leftover. This is 100% silk that I knitted up for the collar, and I had that leftover from a shawl pattern I did several years ago. And it's a pattern that I've had in my queue for some time. It's got a false button plaque here with little tiny, I used some old mother of pearl buttons on it. It has a turned hem, so it's just kind of that very tailored fit, kind of a longer bell sleeves, very easy pattern. Again, just a wonderful pattern to follow. It was a great project and I've gotten a lot of use from it, and just kind of a different look for a hand knit sweater. So that's what I'm wearing. I'm really excited. We had a week of cooler temperatures here. In fact, I had a couple mornings and evenings where I actually pulled on a cardigan, which was so much fun. I know that here in a few months, it won't be so much fun when it gets really cold. But for right now, it was kind of a novelty to pull out a cardigan and wrap up, and sweater weather ahead. So I have been full steam ahead on sweater knitting, and I've been really excited to see all the knit alongs starting up. I'm hoping to jump into a couple, and I've got, oh goodness, I've got way more sweaters on the queue in the plans for this winter than I have any hope of ever getting done. But last time I showed you that I was working on my sugar maple and I had gauge issues and I was pulling it out so that I wouldn't lose my nerve. Actually, the night that I posted that episode, I had some friends over to knit. We have a knit night every couple weeks. And I said, okay girls, you're gonna watch me do this so I don't lose my nerve. And I ripped out that whole thing and cast it right back on so I wouldn't have any chance of sitting it in the corner. And this has been really my only knitting. Couple little things, purse knitting, but basically this is what I've been concentrating on. And I am very happy to report that I am 12 rows away from being where I was when I ripped out. So I am on my second color, and you know, scrunched up on the needles, it's a little hard to show, but I've got, like I said, 12 rows, and I'll be back to where I was when I ripped out. So I'm on the second color, probably not going to be able, the way, this is 100th Sheep, and her color concepts are almost ombre more than gradient. The gradations, she does such a good job of making these fine adjustments between colors. When I get down to the next color, it's going to be a little bit more obvious, a little bit more blue, and then it will fade all the way into the blue. And I've shown that before, so I won't try juggling yarn balls again. But I am 12 rows away from dividing for the sleeves. I think the fit on this is going to be much better. I will say that the knitting on it has been much easier. I was surprised how much difference changing the gauge made in how the knitting went. So it has been a joy to knit this time, and I'm really excited. I'm hoping, I don't know if I really think that I can finish this before Fiber Days in a few weeks. Like I said, I just got, 3.5 weeks or so before Fiber Days, and I would really, really, really like to be able to have this done to wear. A girl can hope, right? So that's my Sugar Maple by Carina Spencer. It's coming along great. I'm really enjoying it, and I cannot wait to have it ready to wear. If I can get it done, then I should have a couple months where it will still be appropriate to wear this fall. That's basically been my fibery making over the last couple weeks. Homestead wise, we got rain. The garden is loving it. It was a little bit too late for a few things. Tomatoes are definitely on the downside, but the fall garden is taking off. So I will once again be picking green beans. We picked some cucumbers yesterday. I've got kale, spinach, dill, basil, all of that should be coming on here pretty quick. Canning, every year, I live in Missouri, but I grew up in southeastern Pennsylvania, and we had a lot of orchards around us. We don't so much where I am now, but when I was real little, like kindergarten, my mom picked fruit at some orchards. In fact, that was my first paying job. I got to pick apples for 25 cents a bushel, and loved doing that. My brother, when he was in high school, worked at one of the orchards. And when we moved out here, there's a group near us that every year goes back to Pennsylvania and buys peaches by the semi-load and brings them out. And we found, the first year we got a few and got them home, looked at the box, and they were from one of the orchards that we used to go to. So that was kind of fun, and it's become a tradition. Every year we get a couple bushels of peaches from them. So last week was Peach Week. We picked up our peaches. We got 2.5 bushels this year, and yesterday my mom and I did our peach canning. So we did 29 or 30 pints, I believe, and that'll be plenty to get us through this next year. If you have never canned peaches, they are so much fun. Probably my favorite thing to can. I don't do a lot of different things, but peaches I look forward to. They are so much fun. They are very easy. It's a great beginner's project. If you have not canned before and you have an orchard or a place to get a larger number of peaches, I would definitely say that's a good one to start out with. Another resource, last time I told you about the ball canning book. Another resource I enjoy, and I actually used for this, is the University Extension Services. So Missouri has a great university extension, and I'll link the link to the publication from them that I used. All of their resources are online. They're all free. Every state in the U.S. has an cooperative extension service. If that's not a resource you're familiar with, and you're at all interested in home preservation, gardening, any kind of farm adventure, as well as they have business categories. There's just so much available, and every state is very different. The nice thing now is you can access publications from all the states online. So I was able to look up and compare what University of Missouri had, Colorado. I was looking at Tennessee, Georgia. I've looked at a number of them, and they're all university tested. They've all been approved recipes. They have been put through test kitchens. It's what they are teaching people. There are a number of states that have master canner or master preserver programs. Missouri doesn't at this point, but there are a number of states that have those. So they put out really good, solid information that is safe to follow, and you're going to get good results from it. What was new to me, they had kind of revised some of the syrup calculations. So they had, I had always thought that the amount of sugar that you used when you're preserving fruit helped preserve it. Well, apparently that's not true. So when I was looking up all this information, what I was really doing was trying to find out if I could use honey to preserve my peaches instead of sugar. So I looked that up. Every resource I came up with, including, I believe, Honey Council, and basically said you can use 50-50. If you're going to substitute honey, use 50% sugar, 50% honey. I didn't end up doing that this year, but in the process of looking that up, I saw these revised sugar ratios. University of Missouri actually had a percentage. What I have always done all my life was called a light syrup, and it was a 1-to-4. So 1/4 cup sugar to a cup of water, and you make up a syrup to can your peaches, to put over your cut up peaches. Well, they were actually advocating an extra light that was 10% sugar. So a lot less. I'm looking forward to, we actually did half of them with the 10% and half of them at the 25% sugar ratio. The peaches weren't overly sweet. They're very good, but they weren't a terribly sweet variety. So I may be happier with the 1-to-4, 25% than I am the light this year. But it was just kind of a good experiment to see maybe I don't need all that sugar that I've been putting in them. So peaches are, like I said, very fast. They are a boiling water bath canning process. So you don't have to have a pressure cooker. It's not nearly as scary. So just a really fun project. And like I said, now we've got our year's supply of peaches in the pantry. So that's always, I love looking at the tomatoes, and you got the deep red and the bright yellow, orange, and the peaches. And we are hoping, we just started picking our pickling cucumbers. So we do those in the fall, and our dill is very slow. We are hoping that we will get enough dill that we can make pickles and pickle relish. So you just get all the different colors on the pantry shelves, and that's so rewarding. A lot of fun. Another quick note, on our trip to State Fair, all of my butterflies are hatched. I told you that I talked to the conservation office when I was up at State Fair. They have an amazing, they bring like a little mini zoo, a lot of different information up there, and I was able to pick up several things on butterflies. They had quite, and again, all of this is available on their website, but they were giving out fans, and then they had some books on pollinators and gardening for them, ID, just a lot of really fun write-ups. A lot of this is geared to kids, so it makes it very easy to read, and just a lot of good information. They do a great job. They have a wonderful magazine for adults, and then they also recently put out a kids version, and they're just fun to read, very informative. Then there was a stand from the Missouri Wildflower Nursery. I picked up one of their catalogs. They had a booth where they were actually selling plants, and I got so excited because I told you I had a lot of pipevine swallowtail butterflies, and I couldn't figure out what they were feeding on, laying their eggs on. And I was trying to do some research. So that was one of the things I asked at the conservation. And the guy there didn't have a good answer for me. He said, that's not my area of expertise. But here, let me give you a phone number of the person that would be able to help you. So that was fun. I haven't made that phone call yet, but I'm hoping to. But meanwhile, I went over to the Wildflower Nursery, their stand, and they had pipevines. Got all excited, but it was early in the morning, and I didn't want to carry these plants around the fair with me all day. And being a pipevine, they're a viney plant, and I was afraid that if I put them in a bag, it would hurt the plant. So I didn't pick them up. And then at the very end of the day, the the kind of the last of the circuit, last stop. So I told my friends, as we get ready to go out to the parking lot, I really want to stop by the horticulture building and go see if I can get some of those pipe vines. And they had several different kinds of milkweed, different varieties that I don't have. I want to get different varieties because different varieties will do better in different weather conditions, and they have different bloom times. So that'll extend, like right now, all of my butterflies are hatched, but there are the ones that I have inside, but there are so many butterflies and they are still laying eggs and hatching, but my milkweed is, I have plenty of flowers, but the milkweed's pretty well gone for the season. So I wanted to pick up a couple different varieties, and then I was really super excited to have some pipe vines to bring home. I got up there, and sure enough, they were still there. I grabbed the 3 that they had and went up to pay for them, and I got in line behind one other lady, and she was talking about having a butterfly preserve at a park or something, that she was helping to build up this butterfly garden. And I said, oh really, that's what I'm buying these for too, as a butterfly garden. And she looked at me, she looked at what I had in my hands, and she looked me up and down and said, you can't have those, I just paid for them. She had paid for them but not picked them up, and so she like grabbed them out of my hand and and walked away. And I turned to the lady that was running the booth and I said, oh, okay. She wasn't even friendly about that one. And I guess the lady heard me. She was right around the corner, and she came back and sort of apologized and said, but you don't understand. I need these for a public garden. I have to have them. Okay, so I asked the lady if there was more at the nursery, and she said she was pretty sure they had plenty. Turns out that they do shows or plant sales around the state throughout the year. She said, where do you live? And I told her, and she said, well, we're gonna be there in a couple months, and if you call the nursery, we will just put together an order and bring it down for you to pick up. Then I found out, she said, look at the website and it'll tell you the dates and all, and you can order whatever you would like to have, and we'll bring them to you. So when I came home and checked it out, I actually have a closer show. They're going to be at another, just a few miles from us, there's Prairie State Park, which is one of the larger native prairie reserves. And they do a couple shows, big festivals a year. And so they're going to be at Prairie Days just in, I believe, the end of September. So I'm going to be ordering several different kinds of native flowers. Everything is grown just a couple hours from me in Jefferson City. So everything is naturalized, it's used to our climate, and I'm really excited to have some native plants to add to my collection in my butterfly garden. So, like I was saying last week, it's time to start planning ahead for next year, for the butterflies next year. I'm really enjoying all the tags on Instagram, all the pictures that people are putting about tagging their monarchs. It's migration time. They are starting to gather to make their way down towards Mexico, and so a lot of people are tagging them just for research to be able to follow and see where these butterflies go, where they end up. So that's been a lot of fun to watch. So that's kind of, man, once again, I had way more rambling than I anticipated. So thank you if you've stuck with me. And I'm sure there's information I've left out. If you have any questions, I can clarify anything for you, or you have suggestions of what you'd like me to talk about, please put them in the comments below or reach me in any of the ways. I will put all of my contact information at the end like I always do. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'll see you in a couple weeks.